In part 2 of the CN Toronto bypass, I will look at the history of the line through Milton. I'll start with a brief timeline, and then I'll do a walkthrough where the line used to go, showing pictures of the past and pictures of the present. The first line through Milton was the Hamilton and Northwestern Railway. It was a railway that actually went all the way from Hamilton south to Port Dover, but the portion that we're concerned about is the portion from Hamilton to Collingwood, with a branch at Beaton to Allendale and Barrie. The line was completed through Milton in 1877, with the first revenue train on February 13th. The second railway through was the Credit Valley Railway, which today is the Canadian Pacific. The Hamilton Northwestern morphed into what is Canadian National. I'll go into that a bit further. The Canadian Pacific, or at that time the Credit Valley Railway, was completed through Milton a year and a half later and crossed the Hamilton Northwestern on a diamond near today is the location of the mill pond. On June 10, 1879, the Hamilton Northwestern was merged with the Northern Railway. The Northern Railway had lines from Toronto to Barrie and Barrie to Collingwood and Meaford. On February 24, 1888, the Hamilton Northwestern and the Northern were purchased by the Grand Trunk Railway. After the Grand Trunk Railway's bankruptcy, on January 31, 1923, the Government of Canada took it over as part of the Canadian National Railways. So now let's do an aerial tour of Milton. So right here is Derry Avenue. You can see there's an overpass there now. It used to be a level crossing. And the line is virtually parallels the original line along here. And then it rises up on a berm as it goes further north. And then we get to this point here where the current line still continues north, but the original line diverges off right here. You can barely see it. There you can clearly see it. The station was right there. Going back here a bit, there are some grain towers, and some of which are still there today. And then the P.L. Robertson screwdriver plant right there. The building's still there as well. The line continues. The bridge is still there over the mill pond, 16 Mile Creek. Here's where it crossed the CP on a diamond. There's a connecting track there to the CP as well. Line continued north. And here I found a diverging spur into an industry. There still is a building there. It's a trucking company now. So at one point in time, that was served by rail. Line crosses Martin Street. As you can see now, there's a street built on the old right-of-way, the little part there. Continues on. You can see the tree line. And then it starts to gently curve. And there's the Meineke Muffler Company. You can see the building's on a funny angle. That's because the tracks used to run behind it. Crosses Steeles Avenue. Continues the curve. And there we meet up with what's left of the Milton Spur. And services the Taiga Lumber and the Crawford Metals. And there's the current main line there. So now we'll do the same tour, except we'll do little stops along the way where there's some photographs to show the past and the present. So the first picture is near Derry Road, and this is a steam train heading southbound from Milton towards Burlington. In the modern day photo, it's a diesel CN train heading northbound around the same area. And here it is where I depicted on the map earlier. Next, down the line, where the Milton station used to be, and those grain elevators, you'll see a shot here that was taken in, I believe, 1964. And you can see the station in the background clearly is the grain towers. And in the two pictures I took, which is a couple years back, the CN still had equipment there. You can see the right-of-way, and in the background you can see the towers. On the left where the container is roughly is approximately where the train station was. The train station still exists, by the way, and it resides in a small park on Martin Street when you first come into Milton, and it's now a tourist information center. Now, looking at the P.O. Robertson factory, you can see in this older photo, I'm going to estimate sometime in the early 70s. The line's been severed from the main, but you can see there's a boxcar, and CN is still able to service it from the north end. So there's still some tracks in place. And in the picture I have taken in more recent years, you can see that as I said before, the P.O. Robertson factory building is still there, but the tracks are long gone. Now we're at the bridge that goes over the mill pond and 16 Mile Creek. In the older photo, you can see the semaphore signals with the bridge And the track continuing on towards the interlocking tower and the crossing on the diamond with the Canadian Pacific. And then there's a track curving off to the right. That's the connecting track to the Canadian Pacific with rail cars sitting there. In the modern photo I took, you can see the bridge is still there. It is now decked over. Here's a side shot of the bridge from below as well. And then moving forward into the woods, the connecting track is still actually sitting there today, obviously long abandoned with trees and shrubs and brush growing through it. Next up is the crossing of the Canadian Pacific on the diamond. In this photo, an SW1200 RS hauling a combine and a passenger car is about to cross the diamond. It's at the interlocking tower, and it's heading on its way north to Collingwood. In the modern photo I took, my daughter's in the background, I'm looking basically on the same angle across the Canadian Pacific tracks with all traces of the diamond and the CN track gone. And in the photo, next one there, with once again my daughter's in the picture, you can kind of see the connecting track curving in from the left that connected with the Canadian Pacific, and then they are standing on the right of way heading back towards the bridge over the mill pond. Moving further along the line, we reach Martin Street. This is where the CN line crossed, and in this photo is a steam train hauling a passenger train northbound. And you can see that house to the right. In the photo I've taken, that house still is there today. And you can see a little bit of a fence to the left. That's the right of way. I don't know if eventually it'll become a trail or not. Right now it's closed. And then I pivoted 180 degrees looking across Martin Street, and you can see there's a street there called Caves Court, and that street is built on what was the right-of-way continuing north. Now we move up towards Steeles Avenue, and here is the Meineke Muffler shop, which I mentioned earlier is on a funny angle when you're looking at it, but the reason it's on a funny angle is because the building was there and built when the track still existed. Unfortunately, I don't have any older photos in this section, but I'll still show what the line looks like, or the right-of-way looks like today. As we move to the north end, where the old line comes back in alignment again with the current main line, you can see one shot I took looking south, and you can see the current track still in place, and as it curves off to the left, but the old line used to go straight. And today, if you look in that area, you can see some containers and that kind of parallel where the right-of-way is or was. And then looking north, that's the 401 expressway going over top there, and you can see where the old line kind of comes back into alignment with the main line curving off from the left or the west and then curving north. There are still two industries serviced on this old Milton spur, Taga Lumber and Crawford Metals, and I featured them in a video where I discuss the possibility of actually doing a model of this area in Milton due to the large amount of industry still serviced by rail, including these two. I'll put a link to that video if you want to check it out. So that ends the part 2 of this series. In part 3, I will discuss the reconstruction of the Milton line, which became the part of the Halton Sub, and also the construction of the York Sub and the Toronto Macmillan Yard. Thank you for watching an episode on railway history. If you have any aspects of railway history that you're curious about, feel free to reach out to me with your suggestions or questions. Also, if you like this video and are interested in seeing more historical content, please subscribe to my channel.